Hi, welcome to the practical part of the Jira workshop that was held on Saturday. The reason we decided to separate this recording from the initial workshop is because the initial recording wasn't clear enough and we wanted you to get as much value as possible. My name is Derek Vinebo and I'll be taking you through the Jira workshop series as your facilitator and host. I'm doing this in collaboration with PMAfrica, a product management community for Africans, helping you maximize your potentials as product managers in your different organizations. So to get started, I have a test project here, which I'm going to call Barbershop. And as you can see, this was created on our PM African Atlassian account. This is the account we'll be using for our entire workshop. Now, to create a new project, you can always click on this button here or the button at the top. And once you do so, you get to see a screen that asks you what project type are you creating. We have Kanban, we have Scrum. If you haven't watched the recording of the workshop itself where I explained the difference between Kanban and Scrum, please go check that out. You would definitely enjoy it. You can also look at the links in the description as well for a direct access to those videos. We have different kinds of project templates as well, from service management down to human resources. And in our next couple of workshops, I'm also going to touch point on most of those. Once you choose the template you want to use, the Kanban project, you also get to choose if you want to create a team managed project or a company managed project. It's actually very simple, right? So for people who are looking for just very easy access to Jira, nothing so complex, team manager is actually totally fine. For those who have working with, let's say, multiple teams, multiple projects, you want more control. Mostly, you're also a premium user. I would always advise you to go with company managed because it gives you more control. As long as you're proficient enough using Jira. Once you click on select a team managed project, you will be asked to put in the project name and create your project. I'm going to go back to my old project now, so we can actually visit the project setup. Now, once you've created a project, you always have to go to your project settings. That's the first thing you do. You can modify the picture, change the icon if you want to. If for any reason you feel like deleting this entire project, you can do that by clicking on the top right here and move it to trash. Jira doesn't automatically delete your project. They just move it to trash bin and schedule it for it to be deleted in, I think, within 3 to 6 months. I'm not sure the exact time frame. So you can always restore them back before that permanent deletion. You also have the access section where you get to grant people access to your project. You also have the issue type section. Now, I always advise you to go here check that all the issue types are actually activated. Sometimes you get to see that some issue types have not been activated yet. Now, in this section, I'm going to also highlight some things that I believe are best practices I could actually try out. One of them is the ability to recustomize the kind of fields that get shown up on your Jira on the issue type itself. Yeah. Now I'm going to come back to this a little bit later. The next thing you want to do is you also want to look at features, right? And this is really important because when you initially create a project, some of the features won't be activated by default. So do you want product maps to be available for you? Do you want the backlog to be available? Do you want reports available? I think reports is always deactivated by default. Reports and issue navigator. So I always advise to leave them activated because you also want to track your team reports, and that helps you to create report sheets that can share with your stakeholders about how your team is doing for every sprint. You also have the sprint column, and if you're using Scrum, you'd want to select story points. If you're using Kanban, you most likely want to use time estimations, right? Then for the estimation type. If you want to connect your Jira account, your Jira projects to a Bitbucket account, GitHub account, that's for those who are technical PMs who want to make it easy for developers to, make PRs, that's pull request, merge codes, and get to see all those informations updated in the ticket automatically. You can do so by connecting and configuring that. Releases is also really important. I also show us why it's important. So I always advise to toggle releases on. Deployment and on calls are really operational things, so you don't really need to bother about this if you're not looking at exploring the full potentials of using Jira as a software. Now, I can go back to my project. I'm going to just walk us through exactly what we can see here. So the first thing is the roadmap section. Now this is where you can create your larger epics, right? So epics are like large they're like large user stories. Yeah, they help you to put features together in a single bulk. So you can actually use this road mapping side to handle your roadmaps and how they currently look on the board. You can also estimate when they'll start and when they'll finish. And these are things that you can actually share with your stakeholders as well. We're going to have a separate workshop that would dive deeper into how to set up roadmaps and how to use roadmaps on Jira, both for free and premium accounts. We also have the backlog, which is where you get to see the main project backlog as well as the sprint backlog. I would also touch point on these and how to make writing tickets very easy, faster, and more efficient for you. We have the project board, which is where the entire workflow happens. I would also explain the different swim lanes and why I chose these swim lanes, and the best way you can actually maximize is this. We have the reports tab, which looks at the different reports that can be gotten from your current project. So you see the burn up report, the sprint burn down chart, the velocity report. These are really important as well for you as a product manager, because you would need to share some of these things with your stakeholders after every sprint. We have the issue navigator section, which allows you to actually find issues and actually bring them out, because when you move items to done, they after a while tend to get taken away from your from your sprint board, from your board itself. So you actually be able to track them down here and actually bring up issues that we are even logged years ago. The release section is where you help to combine different stacks under a particular release. So let's assume that you're building an MVP version of your product and you still want to document tickets related to the non-MVP version, maybe later version. You can still do that. And you can actually get your board to show only the MVP version of the product itself. Right? So I'm going to create, let's say, a second version here called V1.1. I'm actually going to save it, and I'll actually show us how this actually works in later on. Project pages allows you to actually connect your Confluence accounts. Checklist is an app I use, and I'll also explain why I use particular app. And you have shortcuts which can actually allow you to add links to the Figma design, an exit design, or any particular kind of website or platform that you want your developers to have access to when they are on their board. Now, going straight to the backlog, you can see the typical user stories here. So you can see how the user story is written out. And I also have outlined two different acceptance criteria style as well. I'm also going to show us a little bit of why this looks faster, right? Now, when you go to your project settings, one thing I always would advise new PMs or PMs who sort of like have to write a lot of user stories and a lot of tickets is try to automate things you're doing, right? So if you go to my story, you'll get to see that in my description, I have already created an outline for how my story should look like. This helps me not to be monotonic when I write user stories, so I don't have to always copy and paste every single time or have to write the same things that I write in every single ticket, because as a PM, you do know that you sometimes will be writing hundreds and tens of stories every single day, every single week, every single month, right? So it can be very chaotic, very crazy. So as much as possible, if you can actually automate things, and they'll make things easier for you as a person. Now, talking about this, you can also automate how the box are also written. I can actually put in your own headlines and everything. And once you're done, so you could say, okay, whenever I want to write bulk tickets, I want to ensure that I can put in the action. I can put in the results. I can put in the expected behavior. I can put in the customer information. I can put in notes. Now, I'm just going to decorate it a little bit to make it finer. So action, drop this here. Results, drop this here. Expected behavior, customer notes. Let's assume that this product is product that is a mobile app. So I want to ask things like app version, and these are things that are meant to be filled out. Customer email meant to be filled out as well. I have things like customer ID. I also have let's say I have dates reported or dates action was taken to help me to probably and track it down in the log the log report itself. And then notes has its own section. Now I'm going to save changes and I'm going to show us why this helps me to document better bug reports later on. Now going back to project settings, going back to the project itself, I'm going to go to the backlog, and this is where I'll spend some of the time now on the session talking about. So in the backlog, you find out that you definitely need to always document your tickets properly. So your summary should just be simple, very simple, maybe one line or even less summary of exactly what this ticket is about. So users should be able to sign up. And in the description, you have the as a visitor, when I do this, I should be able to do this in order to do this, right? So I am actually following standard protocol of writing user stories, and in writing acceptance criteria, I have two different styles I use. I like style one because it makes things very fast for me. So I focus a lot on just giving you giving the developers ideas on what exactly should be done and why they should be done that particular way, and giving them all information about that particular ticket as much as possible. So for a create account protocol, I want developer to know that okay, the user should provide their details. All fields are compulsory. If the email already exists, you do something else, and they must accept terms and conditions before they can sign up. There is a second style of writing acceptance criteria, and I think there are like about maybe 4 other styles out there that I have seen on different blogs. But I always prefer my own style because it makes it very fast, plus it makes my developers easily understand what to do and what not to do. I also will be touching points on the idea of definition of done and the definition of ready, and how to do that. Do all this using an app like a checklist app as well. So please subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for that particular video because it's going to be very, very enlightening and very, very exciting to see. Before I wrap up this session, I want to point out that when creating an issue, so if I click to create an issue and let's say I say I want to create a bug issue. So let's say this bug issue is user cannot log in to the app, right? Now you see that because of what I did in the settings page where I modified how the bug tickets look like, when I create this particular ticket here and I click on it, you can see automatically it has imputed all those information for me. So if under PM came to work on my project, they see that oh they must actually put in these informations because these are things that are expected for the developers to know, right? It just helps me when documenting to be very, very quick. So I can put in the action here. The user open the app and navigated to the login screen and entered their email and password. And clicked to log in. Now this is the action. For the results, the user saw an error saying operation timeout. Expected behavior, the user expected to be logged in considering their info was correct. And these are putting the customer information. So what's the app version? Oh, probably is version 1.6. What's the customer email? I put it in and everything, and then put in some notes as well, right? So you see that this is actually a very good way of logging bug reports, and you see how I can actually create a more efficient protocol just by setting things up on the Jira project settings itself. Now, this is also where I talked about things like sprints, label. So if you want to put a label here, maybe we could call this login. It means that anytime you can actually track tickets that are linked to labels called login. Fixed versions is where you talk about what version of the app this is, for instance. So if this was a story and not a bug, and you wanted this to be linked to the MVP version or the version 1.1, that's fine. Because now it helps developers to always come in and select what versions of stories they want to see so that they don't look at things that are in 1.1, whereas they're all focusing on the MVP side of things. Labels also helps them to organize, okay, I want to see things linked to login or things linked to registration, and so on and so forth. This makes work really easy and flexible for you. Now, before we end today's session, I just want to point out quickly the board, the Jira board, and this is my typical Jira workflow, which is it from the to-do, we have the in progress, we also have blocked, we have in code review, we have QA ready, QA field, ready for deployment, and done. Now, there will also be a very extensive Jira workshop as well, where we'll talk about creating Jira workflows and what workflows work best for organizations and how to actually handle your developers during the sprint rituals to ensure that they're actually sticking to the Jira workflows and actually practicing Agile as a team. So thank you so much again. Like I said, my name is Derek, and currently with PMAfrica, we're ensuring that all product managers in Africa can actually get the best and the most needed help and support while working as PMs in their different organizations. So if you like this video, please like the video, share it with your friends. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you'll get notified once we have new videos for our Jira workshop. We'll also be creating very extensive workshop classes as well in the next couple of weeks. So we also hope for you to join those workshops. Thank you.